Hello, Cryptonauts, and welcome back to another episode of Cryptocurrency Chat. This is episode 463 on November 27th, Sunday. So we got those two cool articles this week in Twitter and coins. Let's just get right into the news because you guys don't need to see our link tree. All right. This week in Crypto Twitter, Genesis is in the spotlight again, and that's what this whole episode is really aimed at here. FTX shockwaves subside a little bit. Judging by the glass half full price action this week, the worst, the damage from FTX's historic collapse may be behind us. But this being crypto, nothing is certain. This week, heads turned toward crypto prime broker Genesis, which recently suspended withdrawals on its lending side due to the fact that its derivatives business had a $17.5 million exposure to FTX. Crypto trader CryptoCred posted a timeline of Genesis statements about its FTX exposure over the last month. It goes to show the validity of the saying, watch what they do, not what they say. And let's get into that tweet here real quick. Genesis timeline, November 8th. No material net credit exposure. That's a quote. November 9th, we lost $7 million. November 10th. Okay, we may have lost $175 million locked in FTX. November 16th, about a week later. Sorry, no withdrawals or new loans. Yeah, we don't have a lot of liquid cash. Sorry. The next day. Okay, we need $1 billion. And on the 21st, we'll go bankrupt without this money. The news also affects the business of popular crypto exchange Gemini. Last week, warned of major delays for users looking to withdraw their cash from its Earn product, which was in part serviced by the funds borrowed from Genesis. On Tuesday, Gemini tried to reassure its customers in this tweet. Here, the fifth of, I guess it's one of five. Update for Earn customers. We continue to work with Genesis Global Capital LLC, aka Genesis, the lending partner of Earn, and its parent company, Digital Currency Group, Inc., CCG, to find a solution for users to redeem their funds. On an intangibility-related note, two projects on Cardano both tweeted on Thursday that they were shuttering operations for similarly worded reasons. The first was privacy and scalability solutions. This from Orbis. Hey, all of, unfortunately due to constrained funding and uncertain conditions, Orbis Labs is unable to continue building, and the project has come to a halt. This is unfortunate given the amazing research and work that has been produced. Yeah, our funding source dried up. Sorry, guys. The other was the all-in-one decentralized stablecoin ecosystem, Ardana, aka DeFi hub of Cardano. And that tweet reads, hello, Ardana community. Fortunately, due to recent developments with regards to funding and project timeline uncertainty, the Ardana project has come to a halt. Our code will remain open source for builders to continue our work going forward as they wish. Yeah, it does suck when your funding dries up. I do know this feeling. So on the reserves end. One positive step for the industry comes after FTX is an increased interest in things like security, decentralization, and customer protections. This is what I think Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren have been talking about. Certain businesses actually did well both during and after the catastrophe, including self-custodying solutions like cold wallet manufacturers and decentralized exchanges. I think this is pointing to something. Another thing consumers want from their centralized exchanges going forward is proof of reserves, something that I believe Changpeng Zhao is working on, that CZ from Binance. And they certainly don't want to see too much of the exchange's funds being backed by tokens the exchange has created for itself, as was the case with FTX, its native token FTT. In light of this, KuCoin reserves are at the limits of acceptability, according to Block Research. And Block Research says KuCoin holds nearly 1/5 of its reserves in KCS, its own exchange token. Should this percentage start growing rapidly, it may become a cause for concern, just like how illiquid FTT formed the bulk of FTX's balance sheet. And you can see the little graph here. Jesse Powell, the former CEO of Kraken, another popular CEX or centralized exchange, laid down the law for transparent and secure reserves. In the first of his multi-thread tweet here, I said I was going to be more assertive with calling out problems. This is one of them. The proof of reserves audit requires cryptographic proof of client balances and wallet control. If you're going to start exchanging, please prove to us that you have the coins. That's my editorial there. And here's his charting of what you should be doing. 2. Proof of reserves audit must have 1. That's the first item. Sum of client abilities. Auditor must exclude negative balances. 2. User verifiable cryptographic proof that each account was included in that sum. And 3. Signatures proving that the custodian has control of the wallets. Yeah, kind of wonder about all those people who've lost money through hacks. Did they have proof or did they not care? Probably not, probably the latter, but yeah. Okay, so proto-dank sharding. Ethereum's second most significant upgrade after its recent transition to proof-of-stake consensus mechanism was considered for inclusion on Thursday, according to this announcement by core developer Tim Biko, which was shared on Twitter. I'm not going to read this. It's a very long tweet. Ethereum co-founder and inventor Vitalik Buterin called the proposal amazing progress and said ordinary users can expect massively lower fees going forward. What does that mean, Vitalik? I mean, massive is in like pennies in US dollars? Is that what we're talking about? He basically says this in the tweet. You can read it. Liam Horn, CEO of Ethereum Scaling Solutions Op Labs, unpacked the proposal in a lengthy thread. He claims the improvement could lower fees on the network as much as 100x. Now, see, there's a good example. I wish Vitalik had said that. I'm just going to read his tweet here. Ethereum Core's devs have a call coming up this Thursday to discuss the EIP 4844 to be considered inclusion. This is a huge moment for the many teams this year and been working on the EIP to production this year. Great. So at the bottom he says game changer 100x. Elsewhere, on Tuesday, several people noted a worrying and gigantic discrepancy in the US dollar pegged stablecoin Tether, which is what the largest stablecoin as of right now. Let's have a look real quick here. What does CoinGecko tell us the largest by volume? Yep, Tether is still at 65 billion US dollars as of right now, and they're reading $28 billion current 24-hour volume. And the next after that is BNB. It's not actually the Binance USD. It's just the Binance coin itself at 48 billion, so quite a little bit less there. But at 65 billion. That's still roughly 2.5 times less than the value of Ethereum. So, what is the deal here? What is Paul Amory going to tell us? Tether traded about 20% of the annual GDP in one night. Annual world GDP, 20%. Absolutely insane burst of Tether trading volume last night, $13.76 trillion, over 200x the entire cap of Tether. What's going on? Yeah, okay. That's a good point. The following day, famous Chinese crypto investor Shen, who founded Fenbushi Capital in 2015, a company that describes itself as the first ever institutional crypto investor in Asia, announced that hackers had looted him of $42 million US dollars in crypto a fortnight before. Here's Boshin's tweet. A total of $42 million of crypto assets, including 38 million USDC, were stolen from my personal wallet, ending in 894 in the early morning of November 10th, Eastern Standard Time. The stolen assets are personal funds and do not affect the Fenbushi-related entities. Still, that's a good chunk of change, dude. Central banks should hodl Bitcoin, according to a newspaper from Harvard. That's an article. I'm not going to read that. Disgraced former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried tweeted on Wednesday that he will be breaking his silence with journalist Andrew Ross Sorkin next week. And there's his tweet. Popular crypto influencer BitBoy flew out to the Bahamas to try to get an audience with Bankman-Fried. His journey was trending this week. Remember, he's that guy that did the slap lawsuit? Remember? The slap lawsuit. That's what he did. He did nothing else. Just slap. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to go into this. Finally, enjoy this potential scandalous slip from Terry Duffy, CEO of the world's biggest financial derivatives exchange, CME Group. Quote, my regulator at the CFTC, asked, end quote. One of the funniest moments on cable in a long time. Not going to play this video. Let's move on to the coins. This week in coins, Bitcoin Ethereum stable has the worst of the FTX damage passed. That's what we're hoping for this week, right? Crypto prices were a mixed bag this week, but as of Saturday morning, only a couple of the top 20 by market cap are not in the green over the past 7 days. That begs the question, have the brutal effects of the recent FTX disaster subsided? Bitcoin remains virtually unchanged since 7 days ago. It's down by 0.3% from a week ago, as of the time of the writing of this article. According to CoinGecko data, and currently trades at 16,592, earlier this week it sank to 15,649, its lowest level in 2 years. Ethereum fared about the same. The world's second favorite digital asset moved up 0.6% in the past week, currently up to 1219 at the start of the weekend, and has inched up 2.5% in the past 24 hours. Last Monday, it slipped 7% as the attacker who drained the FTX wallets dumped a significant portion of the stolen ETH for Bitcoin. Both market leaders recovered a little on Wednesday when the Federal Reserve, released that the U.S. Central Bank reportedly plans on making smaller interest rate hikes going forward. This signals the end of a cycle of hikes, 3 so far this year, each a basis of 75 points, that were the steepest since 1994, roughly 37 years ago. 36? 38 years ago? Solana holders avoided another week of losses. Number 14 coin, formerly top 10, is no longer in free fall, having grown this week by 3.5%-ish to about $14 on Tuesday. Litecoin flipped Sol. Wow, I feel bad for Sol. Solana was heaviest hit by FTX's collapse among the leading cryptocurrencies. Disgraced FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried was one of Solana's earliest backers and also owned a large stash of Sol, through another crypto company, his backing company, Alameda Research. Sol was the second largest coin holding of the disgraced hedge fund. Many cryptocurrencies posted small losses, but several enjoyed considerable rallies. Chainlink added almost 10% and trades for about $680. Litecoin added a whopping 20% and is currently worth roughly $75. And Binance Coin, BNB, grew 12% to 301, but it does tend to fluctuate a lot. Still, the good news for crypto fans may be short-lived. On Monday, crypto trading group CoinShares published a report that says institutional players are shorting crypto in record numbers. According to the report, short product inflows represent 75% of total inflows, the largest on record. In Genesis, doomsayers' eyes were on crypto prime broker Genesis this week as possibly the next high-profile insolvency after FTX. Last week, the company suspended withdrawals on its lending side due to the fact that Genesis derivatives business had lost $175 million exposure to FTX. The company then reportedly sought a $1 billion payout that it didn't get. By last Monday, reports emerged that Genesis may be facing bankruptcy. A representative for the company told Decrypt at the time, "We have no plans to file bankruptcy imminently. Our goal is to resolve the situation consensually without the need for any bankruptcy filing." Genesis continues to have constructive conversations with its creditors. The news also affected the business of the popular exchange Gemini, and we've already spoken about this in the other article. So that same day, GTG. Okay, wait. Let's just move on. But yeah, nevertheless, things are looking down for everyone that was in deep with FTX. So there's a couple of things here. I'm going to go over this general. Since this is by Daniel Roberts on Decrypt here, is kind of an editorial more than just a news article. It's opinion, but it's also things you could probably take away from the 5 lessons from the stunning implosion of Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX. So, the fallout of a false crypto idol. One of the biggest issues apparently going on with this, and if you give me a moment to re-sign into my account, which apparently has been signed out, I will get back to this. All right, there we go. The main issue in these 5 lessons here is that it appears that the emperor has been shown to be wearing no clothes for the, I guess, third time in a row. They did it with Terra founder Do Kwon, and then Suzu from Three Arrows Capital, and then again from Alex Mashinsky. It appears that, and I guess this is the thing that I find most disconcerting when it comes to crypto, is the number of people who are inclined to just flat out lie. They recognize that crypto may not live up to their expectations, and rather than, and maybe some, let me just hedge my statement and saying that it's not that people want to be liars. Maybe some of them do, but that once you start seeing the money coming in the billions, like it was with Sam Bankman-Fried, it's kind of hard to deny that you're actually doing something right. They did do a lot of bold moves, and investors tend to like bold moves, but they also like to see that their money is preserved. And it seemed like Sam Bankman-Fried was the savior. Yes, he was lying the whole time. And that is, of course, the problem. The problem with Bernie Madoff as well. But once you start getting yourself into a real Ponzi scheme, you can't get out of it unless you want it to all come crashing down. Second point. This is kind of the end of the Changpeng Zhao and Sam Bankman-Fried rivalry. Changpeng Zhao, CZ of Binance, was kind of thinking, there's this rivalry. They did initially invest to get FTX off the ground in exchange for a gargantuan number of FTT tokens, which, of course, was probably not a wholly bad thing in the very beginning, but because Sam Bankman-Fried just didn't make any good decisions, even though it's kind of like the apprentice taking over the master's role. And I'm not saying Changpeng Zhao is an idiot. He's not. But Sam Bankman-Fried kind of usurped his rivalry. It's kind of like, oh yeah, well, I'm just going to do better than you. It's like, take it slow, dude. You could trip. And that's exactly what happened. So even though Sam Bankman-Fried was growing his company by leaps and bounds, he didn't really seem to be managing it correctly. And we'll find more about this as details, if they come out at all, about what has actually been going on or what was going on. A lot of people say there was no management whatsoever. So the third thing that comes of this, and I think this ties to the idea of the ultimate thing, the last thing that we learn from this issue, is that DeFi survived. And if you listen to this show, you probably are quite well aware that we've been saying this for the longest time, not your keys, not your crypto. A lot of people do say that. But DeFi operates of its own accord. It's not a centralized unit, and it can't exist. I shouldn't say that's entirely true, but it mostly can't exist without real numbers behind it. Because it's automated, right? So when people put money in, so if you want to support a pool, or is it not pool or farm? I think it's a farm. If you want to support a farm, you have to put two coins together for some level of liquidity. And in the very, very beginning, in order to incentivize that liquidity, the interest is exceptionally high. With the very, very beginning of Uniswap or Pancake Swap, I remember interest rates being as high as 1,000% APR. That's ridiculous, but it's only because they're trying to foster new liquidity. And as that liquidity softens, more and more people join, the interest rate will go down to something a little bit more reasonable. It could still be high hundreds or low hundreds, maybe 80, 90%. That's still somewhat possible. It depends on how much money is pouring into the project. But because it's not what a person does with the money, it's what the system does with the money, then the system is just programmed to just act. It's not dependent upon whether or not the system wants a $40 million mansion in the Bahamas. So DeFi survived. And for the fourth thing, centralized crypto exchanges are not dead. There's got to be hundreds of them still out there. I know I personally use them. The one example I keep thinking of is Hotbit. Hotbit got hacked. They were offline for 2.5 weeks. They came back on and they were fine again. You have to put in some kind of restrictions. It is annoying to me with particular, like the withdrawal fees. You can deposit all you like, but if you don't put a minimum withdrawal in, they're not going to let you have your money back, which is pretty annoying when you're only dealing with tens or twenties of dollars. hundreds, thousands of dollars, they're not going to care. But it guarantees that the riffraff is kept out. Like, they're not doing transactions that they can't afford. They're doing transactions with a minimum requirement. And so the problem, of course, still stands that DeFi is challenging for the novice user, whereas centralized exchanges do make it quite simple, even if they're lying. And lastly, this is good news. All of this is very good news for the industry, and even though it sounds negative to most people who are mocking now crypto and crypto people who invest in crypto because they did such a dumb thing, the point here, and I'm going to read it straight out because I am one of these people. Optimists have called the FTX collapse a net positive for crypto because it's another event that washes out bad actors and speculators. Crypto will emerge stronger. We just needed to weed out the crypto bros, and that's what we did. So, editorial or not, this article I agree with. Thank you, Daniel Roberts, for your contribution to my podcast. All right, so we were talking about this recently. Binance launches a $1 billion raise for crypto recovery fund that could buy FTX's assets. I think it's clear by the fact that Changpeng Zhao signed a letter of intent 2 weeks ago now to attempt to buy out the FTX assets, and then realized that the financials were such a mess he didn't really want to mess with it, or didn't really want to be involved. But with this $1 billion fund he's making up, the end goal seems to be hey, we might want to take some of those assets off your hands at relatively low cost because it will help you pay off your debts. And it sounds like a mercy thing, but it's really more of a carpetbagging thing. But I think the end goal here is that Changpeng Zhao is trying to say it's not just to buy out FTX. It's, yes, we could use $1 billion to buy out some of his assets, but in the future we need to have more funds available to buy out when other people go under. And although I think that's a funny thing to say, I think it's a pretty common practice for industry standards. I mean, it may not have been so common in crypto until late, especially with Sam Bankman-Fried saying he would buy out a whole bunch of different companies, even if he was lying about what the value was coming from. Changpeng Zhao seems to be heading toward the appropriate macro level protections and regulations that the industry can use to regulate itself, rather than having some government do it. Because really, if we're looking at it being a decentralized entity in the first place, it should be a decentralized rule set. So, a couple more articles. One in particular here, authority in Turkey sees FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried's assets. Apparently, FTX had founded an FTX Turkey, and they went in there and grabbed the money. Pretty simple, basic thing, just to make sure no AML was going on. I think they could probably find out that AML was going on. I don't know. The article doesn't define it. Thank you, Andrew Asmikoff from Decrypt, for writing that. And finally here, several U.S. states opened investigation into the crypto lender Genesis, which we talked about earlier. According to Barron's, the investigation into Genesis is part of a broader probe into how connected many cryptocurrency companies are, and in fact, companies have violated state securities laws. On November 16th, Genesis suspended customer redemptions and new loan originations in its lending business, citing abnormal withdrawal requests after the FTX collapse, the bank run, I think everybody's aware of by now. November 21st, Genesis warned investors that it faces the possibility of bankruptcy. We talked about that too, if it can't raise any more capital. And then finally, Digital Currency Group sounded optimistic, saying that it, despite owing Genesis a little over $500 million. So, I think we said this in This Week in Coins, that it would not be surprising to almost anyone who's observing this that Genesis goes belly up in the next week, possibly Monday. We'll have to just see what they say when that time comes. So that's the news for this week. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate it if you could give a thumbs up. That's how we talk to the YouTube algorithm. Or if you're watching or listening in other formats, you can do the same. There's also like buttons for other media formats. You can always check our links here in our coin tree. That's cointr.ee/C3media. And you can get all of our links for donation and all of our social media accounts for either watching our content or keeping in contact with us. We do have a pretty active Discord server with lots of interactivity and lots of things, particularly NFTs. We are heavily involved in Raven and the new Evermore DeFi that's for Raven. There are plenty of other coins which we can talk about, and we always welcome your interests on our channel. We are crypto agnostic. We do talk about a lot of particular coins, but we're all about the crypto, not about the scams. Never was a scam. Honestly, I'm not getting paid for this, so I appreciate any thumbs up or kudos you can send my way. Even real kudos. That's all we got for tonight. Stack, Sats, and HODL. Adios.